Let's go back to January 6th, 2004. In Dubai, workers started digging into the sandy ground for something incredible: the world's tallest building. At that time, the tallest building on Earth was Taipei 101 in Taiwan, standing just over 500 meters. But Dubai wanted something completely different. They weren't just aiming to be a little taller. They wanted a building 62% taller than the second tallest building in the world. That's huge. Normally, when people built taller buildings, the difference between the previous record holder and the new one was small, around 5% to 10%, sometimes 19% at most. But here, they wanted to shock the world. Their goal was 829 meters, almost impossible. It took about 5.5 years of hard work, and finally, on October 2009, the Burj Khalifa was complete. People couldn't believe their eyes. It became the tallest building ever, breaking all previous records by a massive margin. After that, many countries wanted to beat it, but even 13 years later, no one has succeeded. So, why is it so hard to beat Burj Khalifa? And just how tall can humans build a building? Let's explore. For thousands of years, the tallest buildings were very different. Around 2500 BC, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt stood at 145 meters. That was the tallest for about 4,000 years. Later, in the 1300s, cathedrals in England surpassed it with heights of around 160 meters. Then, for centuries, tall churches popped up across Europe. Finally, in 1889, the Eiffel Tower reached the sky, but it wasn't a proper building where people could live or work. The first real skyscraper was the Home Insurance Building in Chicago, built in 1884. It was just 55 meters tall, shorter than the Great Pyramid, but it marked a turning point. For the first time, humans could build structures where people could work, live, and thrive inside. Before this, tall buildings were mostly for royalty or religious purposes. In the late 19th century, skyscraper competition started in New York and Chicago. America had the biggest economy then, and these cities were booming. People wanted to live there, companies needed offices, and skyscrapers became the solution. Some famous buildings to know: Empire State Building, New York, 1931 to 1971. Held the record for 40 years. World Trade Center, New York, 1971. 417 meters, slightly taller than Empire State. In 1998, the race moved to Asia. The Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, were 452 meters, holding the record until 2004. Then came Taipei 101 at 510 meters. And finally, Burj Khalifa crushed them all with 829 meters. Initially, Burj Khalifa's height was planned at 550 meters, just slightly taller than Taipei 101. But as the team worked on it, they realized they could go much higher, and they decided to break the record by a huge margin. Dubai's leaders had a bigger vision. Before the 1990s, Dubai was mostly a small village, relying on fishing and pearls. Oil had just been discovered. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, they wanted to diversify their economy, become a tourism hub, and attract foreign investments. What better way than to build the tallest building in the world? And Burj Khalifa isn't just tall for show, it's mind-blowing. If you jump from the top, it would take about 13 seconds to hit the ground without air resistance. With air resistance, around 20 seconds. Watch the sunset from the ground, then take the elevator to the top. You could watch it again. The building cost around $1.5 billion to construct. Over 12,000 workers from 100-plus countries contributed 22 million man-hours. And it paid off. Dubai became a global hub for tourism and business, with property prices around the tower skyrocketing. So friends, now that we know how Burj Khalifa became the tallest building in the world, let's talk about how it was actually built. You might think, it's just a really tall building. How hard can it be? Well, trust me, it's not that simple. First, a building this tall has to support its own weight. Imagine all that concrete, steel, and glass stacked up in the sky. Plus, at that height, winds are super strong. If not handled properly, the building could sway too much or even get damaged. The solution? A very clever design shaped like a Y. This design works like a tripod, which is very stable. At the center, there's a hexagonal core that supports the whole building. This special system is called the Buttressed Core, invented by Bill Baker, Burj Khalifa's structural engineer. It was used before in a smaller building in South Korea, but Burj Khalifa was the first mega skyscraper to fully use it. Thanks to this design, the building can resist strong winds without needing empty floors like some other tall buildings. For example, in New York, buildings taller than 400 meters often have a few empty floors so wind can pass through. Burj Khalifa doesn't need that because its Y-shaped structure spreads out the wind forces. Now, let's talk about the foundation. Burj Khalifa has 192 massive concrete and steel columns that go 50 meters underground. That's deeper than most buildings. Concrete had to be pumped all the way to the top floors, so engineers built the world's largest concrete pumps. The exterior? Over 100,000 square meters of glass cover the building. And here's a cool fact. The outside of Burj Khalifa is the world's largest LED screen. Yes, the whole building can show light shows, colorful designs, and even movie trailers. For example, Shah Rukh Khan's Pathan trailer was shown on it. It's not a projector. The building itself has 1.2 million tiny LED lights, perfectly arranged so people can watch from far away without disturbing those inside. Safety was another huge challenge. Imagine a fire breaking out on the 160th floor. You can't climb 160 floors. So engineers made pressurized, air-conditioned safe areas every 25 floors. Staircases are built with fireproof concrete, slowing down fire spread. The tower wasn't just a marvel of engineering. It was also a symbol of Dubai's ambition. Before Burj Khalifa, Dubai was known mainly for oil. Leaders wanted to diversify the economy and attract global attention. A building this tall would make Dubai famous worldwide. And it worked. Tourism and business boomed, making the investment worthwhile. Even today, most of the world's tallest buildings were built after Burj Khalifa, but none have beaten it yet. For example, Merdeka 118 in Kuala Lumpur is 679 meters, the second tallest, but still much shorter. The Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia was planned to exceed 1 kilometer, but construction halted in 2018 due to political issues and the pandemic. Dubai Creek Tower was planned as an observation tower, maybe taller than Jeddah Tower, but it's not a true building with offices or apartments. Its construction has also stopped. There are some futuristic plans too. Sky Mile Tower, Tokyo, 1.7 kilometers tall, planned for 500,000 people. This is still only theoretical. Exceed 4,000, Tokyo, a 4 kilometers tall building, taller than Mount Fuji, designed for 1 million people. Again, just a concept. Space Elevator, a tower so tall it could reach space. Crazy, right? But still science fiction. So practically speaking, why haven't humans built taller buildings than Burj Khalifa? There are 3 main reasons. 1. Engineering limits. The taller the building, the more weight and wind force the bottom floors must handle. Materials like steel and concrete have limits. Future materials like carbon fiber might help, but it's still expensive and experimental. 2. Human factors. If a building is over 2 kilometers, people inside will face air pressure and oxygen problems. Imagine taking an elevator to the top in a few minutes. You'd feel dizzy or nauseous unless the building is carefully pressurized. 3. Money. Buildings this tall cost billions of dollars, and there's no guarantee they'll make a profit. Investors need strong government support and a booming economy, which is rare. In short, Burj Khalifa is a perfect combination of ambition, engineering, and economics. That's why, for now, it remains the king of skyscrapers. All right, friends, now let's think about the future of tall buildings. Burj Khalifa has stood as the tallest building for over a decade, but can we build even taller? The answer is maybe, but there are a lot of challenges. Engineers say that with new designs, we could theoretically build buildings over 2 kilometers tall. Some even claim that 3 kilometers or more could be possible. That's taller than any mountain you've seen. But practically, it's not easy. Why? Let's break it down. 1. Weight and strength. The taller the building, the more stress is put on the lower floors. The materials we use today, steel, concrete, aluminum, can only handle so much. We need new super strong, lightweight materials like carbon fiber to make it safe. 2. Wind and stability. Tall buildings face strong winds at the top. Burj Khalifa uses the Y-shaped Buttressed Core system to handle this. If a new building is taller, engineers must invent even smarter designs to prevent it from swaying or shaking too much. 3. Human safety. Imagine living 2 kilometers up. Air pressure is lower, oxygen is thinner, and elevators would take minutes to reach the top. Buildings would need pressurized floors, special ventilation, and no open balconies. 4. Money. This is probably the biggest problem. Buildings like Burj Khalifa cost billions of dollars. Not every city or country can afford that. And if the building doesn't attract enough residents or businesses, investors lose money. Because of these challenges, only a few places in the world can even dream of building mega skyscrapers. Historically, skyscrapers were built where economy and population demanded tall structures, like New York or Chicago. Today, Asian cities like Shanghai, Kuala Lumpur, and Dubai are taking the lead. But even in these places, buildings taller than 800 to 900 meters are rare. Include Jeddah Tower, Saudi Arabia, was supposed to break 1 kilometer, but construction stopped. Dubai Creek Tower, UAE, planned as an observation tower over 1 kilometer, but work halted. Sky Mile Tower, Tokyo, a futuristic plan for 1.7 kilometers, but only theoretical. Exceed 4,000, Tokyo, will be 4 kilometers tall and house 1 million people, but it's purely a concept. Even with the best designs, practical issues like wind, weight, cost, and human safety make it very hard to beat Burj Khalifa anytime soon. That's why it's still the king of skyscrapers. So, what makes Burj Khalifa so special? Height, 829 meters, 62% taller than the next tallest building at the time. Design, Y-shaped buttressed core that resists wind. Safety, fireproof concrete staircases, pressurized safe areas every 25 floors. Technology, world's largest LED display and amazing elevators. Impact, turn Dubai into a global tourist and business hub. In short, Burj Khalifa is more than just a building. It's a symbol of human ambition, engineering innovation, and economic vision. Glowing star, for now, and probably for the next 25 to 50 years, it will remain the tallest building humans have ever built. But who knows? In the future, with new materials and technology, maybe one day someone will reach the sky even higher. Until then, Burj Khalifa stands unmatched, inspiring awe and proving what humans can achieve when they dream big. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this journey through the world of skyscrapers. From the pyramids to Burj Khalifa, humans have always wanted to reach the sky, and Burj Khalifa shows us how far we've come and how far we might go. Thank you for watching, and keep dreaming high.